Are you happy and satisfied now? Hurry up and sign the divorce papers then.
Alright, fine. Oh, but from here on out, if anything happens, I won't help or support at all, okay? When I said this, my husband, Max, and my mother-in-law, Wendy, snickered at me.
Yes, yes.
I think that's more like what we should be saying to you. Once I finished signing the divorce papers, both Max and Wendy looked very happy and were getting carried away from all the happiness. But little did they know that there was hell waiting for them. My name is Sarah, and I am a 32-year-old office worker. I have been married to my husband, Max, for 3 years now. My husband works for a major company, and he works very hard at his job. My husband is busier than me and comes home late. So even though we both work, I am basically mainly responsible in cooking and other house chores. And we don't have any kids yet. So we are able to spend a lot of time together as a couple. And we often go out for drinks with each other's friends and colleagues. And since we don't have any kids, both my husband and I spend a lot of time freely doing things we like to do. So I don't think we both feel that much stress. At the very least, I don't have any complaints or I'm not that dissatisfied with my husband. But there is something that has been bothering me a little lately. And that is that my husband often goes on business trips and he works even on holidays. There have been times where Max has had to go out of the country for international business trips or to work on Saturdays suddenly. And that only happened once a month or so, and it was pretty rare. But for the past few months, his business trips increased, and he had to go on business trips about twice a month, and he has to work on his day offs every week and on almost every holidays. My husband's company's working condition is not that horrible, and until now, his working hours have been within the limit and never exceeded it. So, I wondered why my husband was being forced to work so much by the company recently. When I asked my husband about it, he wouldn't give me any details and would only say,
There are a lot of things going on at the company right now.
I don't think it's right to blabber on, even to your own wife, about the company's business due to confidentiality. But still, this increase in Max having to work for long hours seemed really unusual. And what bothered me most was that my husband didn't seem to be having a hard time about working for that long. Rather, it always seemed like he's happy to go on business trips and work on his days off, happily leaving the house. But I know him, and I knew that he was happy not because he's extremely passionate about his work. At home, Max never talks about his work at all. And he has also never talked about wanting to be promoted to a higher position in his department. And he showed no signs of motivation or passion of wanting to do better at his work. And the most puzzling thing was that despite working for such long hours, my husband's salary has not increased at all. With all the long hours Max has been working, there should be no such thing as unpaid overtime. And it is also impossible to think that he is not being paid for working on his days off and on holidays. Based on these points, I began to suspect my husband about something. Could it be that he is having an affair behind my back? Could it be that business trips or sleepovers with his lover and working on his days off or holidays are going on dates with his lover? When I began to think like that, I could only think that way. Days went by when I wanted to look at my husband's phone to check, but upon closer observation, I found that he always had his phone with him, never leaving the phone side, even in the house. Even when he went to the bathroom or washed his face in the morning, he always carried it in his pocket. My assumption could be really right. I decided to trust my instincts and requested an investigator to check about this case. My gut feeling tells me that my husband is suspicious, but I really hope that this was all wrong. I was driven by such mixed, uncomfortable feelings. A few weeks later, the results came in, and I found out that my husband is completely guilty. My husband's lover was a colleague from the same office where he worked at. She was a single carrier woman, tall, good-looking, and she had the looks in a way that my husband prefers. I was just so angry. Of course, I was allowed to go out late for drinks with friends and have lunch with them on my days off, but I never, ever did anything that crossed the line. I have loved and thought only of my husband and cherished my life with him. But my husband easily betrayed that, lied to me, and did whatever he wanted. Thinking that, I was determined to punish my husband and his lover. First, I decided to report the whole thing to my mother-in-law, Wendy. I had a reasonably good relationship with Wendy, and I knew that she would tell Max off about the whole situation and be on my side. I called Wendy in advance to let her know that I had something important to discuss, and I made my way to her house. Wendy has been living alone since the death of her husband a few years ago. "Oh, Sarah, welcome. What's wrong? You came here all on your own all of a sudden." "Well, Wendy, actually..." I reported to Wendy that Max was currently having an affair behind my back. I also explained that he had been meeting with his lover by saying he's going on a business trip or working on days off and holidays, and I showed her some photo evidence I had received from the investigator. But Wendy showed no signs of surprise, and she didn't react the way I thought she would. "Oh, Max is having an affair. Looking from her reaction, maybe Wendy is thinking that her son wasn't having an affair. Maybe that's why she doesn't really believe in the evidence. All these photos were taken as evidence from the investigator I hired. Unfortunately, Max is having an affair behind my back." When I said this, Wendy says this without any hesitation. "Then, why don't you get a divorce with him?" "Huh? What, you're not going to get a divorce?" "I mean, I will get a divorce, but..." Isn't the conversation going too easily? Was she that uninterested in her own son's married life? As I was thinking that, Wendy then said something unexpected. "Well, that's good then." "Huh? Max, Molly, you both can come out now finally." When Wendy said that, to my surprise, my husband and his lover came out from the next room. How did you..."
"Oh, hey, Sarah."
"Hello." "Oh, I'm sorry. I began to like Molly more than you know. And you said that you had something important to discuss with me, so I thought it must be about this, and I called them both over here." "What? So, does that mean that you support and side with these people?" "Yes, that's right. Are you saying that you approve of your own son for having an affair? Don't you dare talk to me like that. My son just found a better partner." "Excuse me? Unfortunately, you are weaker and inferior than Molly. Molly has a higher income with great looks, and she has even agreed to live with me. Compared to you, it's only obvious that Molly is much more attractive." "So, you're saying that you're only seeing everything only on the surface, huh?" "Pardon me? What, are you jealous? How ugly of you. They say that there is nothing uglier than a woman's jealousy, and it seems to be true. For Max, you were never the first choice, but you were always only in the second place. Right, honey?"
"Oh, yeah, that's right. It's pretty unfortunate, but that can't be helped, you know."
I was very angry that my husband would talk to me like that. I was also angry at his lover, Molly, who was standing next to me just staring and glaring at me as if I was the one causing all the hassle. I wanted to punch them both in the face, but that would have put me in a disadvantage. I managed to suppress my anger and say this calmly. I don't care if you two remarry, but I will make sure that you all pay alimony. Then my mother-in-law gave me a dirty smile and said, "Oh, we'll pay it. We can totally afford it. If we combine Max and Molly's income together, we have nothing to fear." Then my husband said,
Well then, I need you to sign this.
as he showed me some papers. It was divorce papers. Max's parts were all already signed. Oh, I see. So he had this whole thing planned all along, huh? I won't sign it just yet. When I said this, the three of them looked all surprised. And why is that? You just said that you were getting a divorce.
Just hurry up and sign it. We even said that we pay you the alimony.
Ugh, you're such a pain in the butt. I'm only going home today because I'm not convinced that I should sign the papers yet. I'm not going to let them make me do whatever they want me to do. No, I will not let you leave here right now until you sign them.
Yeah, that's right. If you want to get out of here, just sign these divorce papers.
Are you sure about that? Are you sure that you can say that? I mean, what you're saying is confinement. You're just threatening me, you know? And I just recorded what you just said. What would happen if I turned this in to the police? Both Max and Wendy began to flinch.
What are you trying to do?
I just don't want to obey and do whatever you all tell me to do. I'll decide when to divorce you. The next time we meet, let's meet with our lawyers by our side. With that, I left Wendy's place. Wendy looked really stunned, and it was obvious looking at Molly's face that she thought I was making a huge hassle to them. Later, after I got home, I packed my bags and went back to my parents' house. My parents were surprised that I suddenly came home, but were outraged when they heard what had happened. They told me that I could stay at their house as long as I wanted until the whole thing settles down. About a month later, I had a lawyer present to discuss about the alimony with my husband. My husband also brought Wendy to our meeting. It was going to be probably messy, but oh well, it couldn't be helped. One of the reasons why I stubbornly did not sign the divorce papers right then and there was that I thought I might get a little more if I asked for the alimony before we actually got divorced. I officially demanded alimony from my husband as my lawyer talked me through the process. I then sent a demand for alimony to Molly by sending the contents certified mail. My husband immediately agreed and promised to pay the amount.
Are you happy and satisfied now? Hurry up and sign the divorce papers then.
All right, fine. Oh, but from here on out, if anything happens, I won't help or support at all, okay? When I said this, my husband Max and my mother-in-law Wendy snickered at me.
Yes, yes.
I think that's more like what we should be saying to you. Once I finished signing the divorce papers, both Max and Wendy looked very happy and were getting carried away from all the happiness. But little did they know that there was hell waiting for them. I then moved to an apartment sized for one person near my office. It is very close to my office, making my commute much easier and more comfortable than before. Moreover, I used to work very little overtime to take care of my house chores, but now I can work overtime without worrying about it, and my income has gone up as well. I put more and more focus into my job, took exams for certificates, and my income increased even more compared to before. Then, about a year after my divorce, I received a call from a number which it looked like familiar to me. I've seen it before, but who was it? I had seen it, but I couldn't remember. Anyways, the phone kept ringing, so I answered it. Then, it was my ex-mother-in-law, Wendy, who called me. Oh, thank goodness, it's finally connected. Oh, Sarah, please help me. Huh? What's wrong? I can't take it anymore. It's because of that woman, Molly. I knew it. Are you still being chased by loan sharks because of the debt? What? How did you know about that? I actually had an investigator look into it. So, you knew about everything and you didn't even try to tell us and just betray us like that? Oh, no, no, no. You all betrayed me, didn't you? Stop talking nonsense here. Max was the one who had an affair behind my back and left me. Well, if you only called me to complain, I'll just hang up now. Wait! Will you get back together with Max again? If it continues going on like this, both Max and I will sink down together. That woman, she keeps on pushing me around. In fact, before I officially divorced my ex-husband, I had hired an investigator to do a research about his lover. I found out that the woman, Molly, was addicted to gambling and was heavily involved in horse racing and casinos. And apparently, she also has a huge amount of debt. And this is just my guess, but I think she married Max and moved in with Wendy so that she could save some money for her own living expenses. That way, she wouldn't have to pay rent, and since she is such an overpowering and outspoken woman, she probably forced Wendy to obey her and do all the house chores for her. Also, there could be a possibility that Molly had Max and Wendy help her pay off her debts as well. Oh, Wendy, you must be completely disappointed then. So, it wasn't me who was poor, but that woman, Molly, is the one who's poor. Well, it's all none of my business now because it doesn't matter to me anymore. Oh, please, don't shun us like that. All of Max's savings and my savings, almost all of them are gone. Well, it's what both Max and Wendy deserves. And because you sent a content-certified letter to the company about Molly, both Max and Molly got a pay cut. So that means that you are responsible too. Take responsibility and help us. How much more obnoxious and self-centered can she be? But I'm a little irritated that Molly is doing whatever she wants to do. I told them that I would not help them at all in the future, but I did give Wendy a little advice on what she can do to get a revenge on Molly. If she's treating you badly, recording it might be a good evidence for the harassment that you're receiving from Molly. Also, if you have evidence of her addiction to gambling, you could use that as a material for Max to get a divorce with Molly. When I said this, Wendy said, "Oh, that's a good idea. Thank you," and hung up the phone. After that, both Wendy and Max did what I had mentioned. As a result, Max and Molly got a divorce, and Wendy and Max were released from Molly's debt. In the end, Molly was unable to repay her debts and had to go through many consumer loan companies. And before long, she disappeared from the company as well. Although Max and Wendy were freed from that woman, their money were squeezed out a lot during the past year, and the psychological damages are said to be quite severe. Well, compared to them, I think I am the happiest out of all of them. So, I guess in the end, everything went all right. By the way, Wendy seemed to think that she could get Max and I back together because I cooperated with her in the end, and she called me several times, but I ignored all of them and blocked her calls. I then began to have a romantic relationship with a colleague at work. And 2 years later, we got married, and now we have a child. My new husband is a wonderful person, and I feel very comfortable with him. I would like to continue to have a good time with my current husband and watch our child grow up together. Well, there were a lot of crazy people in this story. Wendy, who called Molly and Max in advance and kept them waiting in a separate room, was really crazy. But it was Wendy and Max's fault for not seeing that Molly was that kind of person. As a result, Sarah, who has lived a decent life, was the most happiest in the end, and Max and Wendy deserved what they got, so I have no complaints. As for Molly, she went from one consumer loan to another and disappeared from the company, but I wonder where in the world she went. I hope she didn't get kidnapped or... Well, but I guess she got what she deserved too. Anyway, I am glad that Sarah seems to have a new and happy family. Thank you for watching until the end. Please subscribe to our channel. We hope to see you in our next video.